Welcome to Into the Night. I'm Nari, your guide on today's excursion down a twisted path. Be careful not to get lost. Be it dark or light, it's easy to lose your way. Are you ready? Then let's begin. Sincerely yours. For several years, I've prided myself as being a collector of the unusual. My idea of unusual doesn't always match what others deem it to be. People bring all sorts of things into my shop, but most items are commonplace. Sure, an antique teapot or Grandpa's World War II sidearm might have great sentimental value to the individual person, but as a category, these are typical artifacts that can be found just about anywhere. I'm not discounting the importance of memorabilia, I simply have more discerning tastes. 2 days ago, I heard the jingling of the bell on my shop door. Medium height with short brown hair, wearing a thin brown coat, I wouldn't have given the man a second glance on the street.
Excuse me, are you Stanley Perkins?
He sat a chest on my countertop. Yes, I am. What can I do for you today?
I understand you dabble in the unusual. I may have something that would interest you.
I hear that 50 times a week. Skeptically, I sized up the chest and saw nothing spectacular about it. I don't have any use for an old chest, Mr.
Smith.
Oh boy. Another anonymous peddler of the unimpressive.
Looks can be deceiving. The chest itself isn't of importance. It's the contents that you may find interesting.
I stared at the chest, and I'm afraid I didn't hide my doubts well.
You don't have to make a decision now. I'll leave this here for you to go through. All I ask is that you keep the contents in the same order they are now.
Sounds fair enough. How much do you want for it, if I decide I want it?
We can discuss the terms once you've taken a look. I'll come back on Friday. I've only let a few people, those with an interest in the unusual and the unexpected, see what's inside. Remember, go through every item. Then, we will close the deal.
Apparently, no one else wants to buy it. What the hell, though? Business is slow, and I've got some time to go through it. Okay, I'll give it a gander. No promises, though.
I assure you, we will strike a deal.
I turned to unclasp the latch to the chest, and when I turned around, Mr. Smith was gone. The jingling of the bell on my door was the only indication he had left. Truthfully, I didn't think there'd be anything worthwhile in it, but I opened the lid to find stacks of papers. The parchment was yellowed and brittle. Old paper like that requires special handling, or the oil on our hands will ruin them. So I found my box of latex gloves and put a pair on. I had to protect the documents, not only out of respect for the current owner, but because I wanted to get top dollar for them if they turned out to be something special, and I chose to strike a deal. I picked up a few stacks and set them on the counter. Then I remembered Smith's request to keep everything in order. So I carefully placed them back together and hoisted the chest to the floor. I pulled up my comfy chair, refilled my coffee cup, and took a look at the first paper in the chest. A letter. An old one. Dated May 4th, 1864. What do we have here? Dear Jimmy, I have been by your side since you were a small boy. I've accompanied you on many adventures, and I have so many fond memories of you. Do you remember the time when you and your brother dove off Steeple Rock into the river, but the current had moved the location of the pool? Or the time Old Man Gentry mistook you for a burglar and barely missed you with that shotgun blast? Those were some close calls, but you made it through. Tonight, you are sleeping on the ground, dreaming of home and of those loved ones you have left behind. Tomorrow is a big day. The enemy has advanced farther, and you are going into dangerous territory. Know I am standing beside you and will not leave you, my good friend. Sincerely yours, G.R. A second page accompanied the letter. An obituary for Jimmy Thompson from a small-town newspaper gave the details of his passing. Age 17, son of Edith and Ezra Thompson. He died May 5th, 1864, in the Battle of the Wilderness. Why, he died the day after that letter was written. Always a softie for Civil War memorabilia, I began to think the chest might have potential.
I carefully set Jimmy's letter and obituary on the counter and read one after the other. So many were written to Civil War soldiers on both sides of the fight. Others were to farmers, doctors, school teachers, and people of all ages and walks of life. Filling up my cup of coffee, I pondered the fact that each letter was written the day before the death listed on the obituary. I picked up the next letter, dated November 18th, 1904.
Dear Maud, you are a remarkable woman, my dear. You have come so far from being that scrawny little girl who caught frogs and climbed trees with her brother. I smile now, thinking of the time you filled Mabel Hammond's lunch bucket with lizards just to hear her squeal at the church picnic. Mabel never could take a joke, and you endured the whipping from your daddy like a champion. Your spunk and determination got you far. You survived the Yankees raiding your home and leaving your family near starvation. You and Harmon Mackey raised 6 mischievous boys without a moment of outward frustration. You've seen births, deaths, cholera outbreaks, and most recently, a World's Fair. You became a grandma and a great-grandma, and your family adores you. I have enjoyed every moment we have spent together. I will be seeing you soon. Sincerely yours, G.R.
As with the other letters, an obituary for Maud Mackey accompanied it. I read through several more, and the dates moved progressively forward. These letters were personal and touching, and I felt as though I peered into a crystal ball and could see these people come to life. One letter to Conrad Milton gave me pause. It was written the day before he died in the Battle of the Bulge. Why would Conrad's letter hit me emotionally? Because he was my father's best friend. They joined the Army the day after Pearl Harbor happened, and, like all small towns back then, the hometown recruits were put in the same unit. My father was with him when the mortar shell landed smack dab on Connie. I'd grown up listening to stories about Conrad Milton. The letter included a few I'd never heard, like the time he and his little sister almost died from scarlet fever. Something bothers me, though. Just who is writing these letters? Who is GR? Because of the span of the years, there's no way it's the same person. Also, these people lived all across the country. How can this be? Over the course of the next few days, I continued reading, letter after letter, and obituary after obituary. They always recalled poignant moments of that person's life. They were always signed by GR. If these are fiction, I have no use for them. I'm not sure what Mr. Smith thinks he's trying to sell me here. On Friday morning, I finally reached the bottom of the chest. One final letter remained, but unlike the others, there was no obituary. That's odd. I carefully opened the last letter written on bright white paper. I checked the date, which couldn't be right. September 14th of this year. Why, that was yesterday. I shrugged and began reading.
Dear Stanley, you've been one of my favorites since you were a young boy living on South Orchard Street. Always curious and always drawn to people and things that were different or unique, you've lived quite the life. For your senior trip, you chose to go to exotic New Guinea, just so you could see real headhunters. Most people your age went to Paris or Barcelona, but you aren't like other people. By the way, I didn't know for sure if we were going to get off New Guinea with your head still attached, but fate had it that you would survive. Because I've enjoyed following you for so long, I wanted to give you this one last treat. No one else has been privy to the private collection of letters I've written to those I have treasured above all others. This chest was my gift to you. I'm so glad I was able to meet you in person before we embark on our journey. I will see you soon. Sincerely yours, GR.
Who would know about New Guinea? What kind of trick is this? Just then, the bell on my door jingled. At first, I didn't recognize the person who interrupted my thoughts. Instead of an old brown jacket, Mr. Smith wore a hooded robe and carried a scythe.
Hello, Stanley. I hope you've enjoyed my gift. Now, it's time for us to finalize our deal and leave.
He reached out his hand to me, and in that moment, I clearly recognized the Grim Reaper. Tomorrow's paper would hold the obituary he'd add to his collection.
Thank you for joining me for Into the Night, an anthology series written by Caroline Giammanco and narrated by Nari Kwak. Please give us a like if you enjoyed what you heard. Also, please hit the subscribe button below and the alarm bell in case of emergency. I mean, to be notified of our most recent content. You can also find us on your favorite podcast directory. See you in 2 weeks. And remember, whether in the shadows or in the daylight, all twisted paths take you into the night.